Turn on that radio and back here. The cops ain't likely to catch up with us, not tonight. So we can all be quiet and peaceable and listen to the music.
This episode of Auto Dealer Live is brought to you by TrueCar.
What's up, everybody?
Hey. What's up, Mr. Dave?
What's up, man? I am so excited to be sitting here with you guys. And it's Thursday, it's 3:30, and it's Cribs, it's man, we're getting ready to move into the last half of the month, last week of the month, man. And I'm feeling like there's going to be a lot of activity going on. Dealers are having good August numbers. They're really, from the ear on the ground, dealers are doing well. And Tommy, man, I feel a lot of strong closing mojo going on. What about you?
The mojo is strong for the close. Correct. That is absolutely an accurate discernment, Dave. Good job, buddy. It's Thursday. It's 3:30. It's Auto Dealer Live. You know what the dealio is. How do we look? I'm standing today. Good. Can we stand? Can
you look like a
this isn't working. The giant monitor isn't working. Just saying.
What do you mean it's not working?
It's working. It's just a
It's
freeze frame there.
Freeze frame.
We'll take care of that.
That's all right. So
So,
call them out on air there.
Well,
Thanks, Tommy.
I'm just saying, we're always so professional here. Like, we can't talk about that. First of all, let's
Bring it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tommy, fix your wires,
Go ahead,
Tommy.
first of all.
That's all I got. No,
Fix your wire.
Fix which wire?
The one hanging out of your ear.
See, had I had the monitor in proper position and not frozen, I would have seen that. It's frozen again.
So what kind of so we're calling each other all out, Cribs?
Yeah, hey, look.
Hey, Cribs, you got a booger in your face. You jerk, you idiot.
Thanks.
Priceless.
I think I got called out last week. But hey, what? Hey, this is
no one can see it.
I know.
You guys can't see what we can see right now, but
Go ahead, man. So what were you going to say last week? What?
No, I was just going to say, hey, look, thanks to everyone for tuning in because it is the last week of the month. And, everything ramps up in the car business because we live by the month, right? We live month to month. And when we get near the end of the month, one of two things are going on. Either we are rocking and rolling and we've got to keep that momentum going to have a great month, or
we're freaking out.
Or we're freaking out, right? We're a little bit behind. We got to play catch up. But the good news is you have a few days. Everything happens at the end of the month. People are coached to come in at that time. I mean, there's a lot that can happen. So if you're close to where you want to be, or even if you're far away, don't give up. Keep pushing to the very end.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna actually say this too, because the sales trainer kind of comes out in you, and the good news about this whole deal, we've got 10 minutes really, or about 8-9 minutes to ourselves. We can say whatever the heck we want, because this is really that part of the show. So I'll say this, whether you're listen, I understand the emotion of sales and I understand the momentum, and I'd much rather have the great synergistic feeling of being ahead in a month with a week left than behind, right? And so everything you said just now, totally relate to, totally get it, totally been there. However, I am a little different these days with the reality of whether you're ahead or not, even if you're behind. I have subscribed to the fact that the day that I'm actually that I'm in, the very day that I'm going to make something happen that day. Because I feel, Dave, and Tommy, you're in sales, I feel that if you're having a month that's not as desirable as maybe it could be, or that you'd like for it to have been, you can typically reflect back and find out where it went wrong. And so I'm a believer in that if we string enough bad days together, we're going to have a bad month. If we string enough good days together, we're going to have a good month.
I like that.
And so since it's only a measuring stick, and then I'll shut up, since it's only a measuring stick, and really today's what you can do something about, I say you start stringing good days together now.
I agree 100%. kind of fell into a trap earlier in my career where, you get to the end of the month, you're having a great month, maybe you killed it, and then, you're worn out, you're beat up, you're tired, and the first week or two, you're kind of sluggish. And, if you're a great salesperson, you kind of have that thing in your back pocket that says, hey, I can pull it out and I can come on strong and still have a good month, this month or the next month. But the reality is, I figured out along the way that a month in the car business is like a snowball effect. The closer you get to the end of the month, the more levels you're hitting, the higher dollar pay you're getting, the higher the commissions are per car.
Yeah.
And I used to call that selling in the red zone. I want to be in the red zone early on in the month. So it's key to come in and take each day seriously like it was the last day. That being said, hey guys, it's the end of the month. Let's rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll. Hey, we want to thank you for listening to us at the end of the month. And I think that since the month is going to end in the middle of next week, and we have this weekend left, we've got to push strong. I think that there's some things that we're going to talk about today that are going to help us kind of make that mid shift that we need. That's going to kind of begin to turn things in the right perspective, in the right way. What do you think, T?
Yeah, well, I think thank God we're blessed enough to be in an industry either which I generalize as sales, that we can literally make something happen. We can give ourselves a raise. We can affect and change the last part of the month. Even if you had a sucky first half, you can make a better second half. You have the control of that. So
It's in your hands.
it's absolutely in our hands, and you don't have to have a cap on it. As much as you can sell, as much time as you got left.
Come on, man.
Keep it moving.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I like
Nope,
it. And you're hearing it from a guy, by the way, who performs every single month in and month out, has great numbers. And I know some of you probably heard that before here, but I can't say enough about Tommy because he comes on the show here and we talk about sales, but he's in the game making it happen in between the shows.
Praise
Yes,
the Lord.
he is.
Amen.
Yeah, he is. All right. Well, gentlemen, we got a great show today, man. Today is our BDC fail.
Come on.
BDC fail.
Uh-oh.
It's what does that mean, man? See, somebody tweeted out Dave Cribbs is on the show today, so let's talk about end of the month and BDC. I don't know what that meant. If that was like, hey, yay, Dave Cribbs is on the phone, the show, so we're going to talk about, all of that. Was like celebrate. Like you never know. Like when someone says something, are they doing this? Like on a tweet or email or anything?
It's like a
are
text.
they going, hey, Dave Cribbs is on the phone today. Let's talk about BDC and fail. Or oh crap,
Or they say,
Dave freaking Cribbs is on the show today.
Let's talk about BDC at the end of the month.
Like how are they saying it?
I
You know
don't
what I'm
know.
saying?
That's
Somebody
Twitter.
invent, Twitter with some freaking real emotions, right?
That's next level. That's
next level.
That's that VR stuff.
Like you go to tweet something, all of a sudden you hit it, and a hologram walks out and just smacks you in the face and be like, "Why'd you say that for?"
Hey, I see. There's a
You
market.
ever text back and forth and you're like, man, I just got to pick up the phone because it just, I
Are
don't
you
know.
being a jerk to me? Or
Yeah.
okay, no, you're not.
Oh,
Okay,
you're good. Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like you're being a jerk.
They're
to me. I
rushing
wasn't
us.
sure.
They're rushing us. Hey, the next up panel right around
Yes.
right around the corner, right after these breaks, guys. We got BDC fail. We've got some incredible guests on the show today. We're going to be talking about. Listen, boom, there goes Sasquatch down.
I knew it.
Sasquatch
I knew
down.
somebody was going to fall.
I knew you were going to be first.
He
I
might
knew
It's
fall.
it.
always Sasquatch. He always falls.
Because
God
he
bless him.
doesn't have a base.
He doesn't have stability.
There he is. Hey, listen, right around the corner, Cribbs. The next up on the show.
The next up, we got Jared McGreevy, Frank Lopes, Christian Salazar, and Josh Mitchell. The next
But
up.
first, don't forget, sponsored by Automate, it's Slash Tags.
We'll be right back.
What's his name? It's the guy. He's got scissors for his hands. I can't remember the name of the movie. No, it's the Barber of Seville. Oh, I got it. It's Johnny Parsnips. Oh, it's Vinny Hedgeclipper. It's Vinny Hedgeclipper. No, it's more of a proper name. It's not Vinny. Oh, Vincent Hedgeclippers. You gotta see that movie. It's great. Tim Burton did it.
That's the one
So
where
it's
he,
filmed local.
That's the one where he cuts those people, like cuts hair and stuff, right?
Oh no, he kills people. It's crazy. He's slicing everything up. It's disgusting, actually. It's Leonard Clipper Palms or something. It's like Leonard
Are you talking about Edward Scissorhands?
Edward Scissorhands. That's it. Man, that movie was good. That was filmed local. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Good afternoon. Welcome to a little something we like to call Slash Tags. I'm Tommy Elwell. I'm your host. You know, I'm so sick of this crap. And we are back once again. So we got some good ones for you this week. Let's start. Mr. Jeff Glacken has 2 this week. At Jeff Glacken, can someone get Cribs a bigger shirt, or is he showing us how stacked he is? Ha ha ha. Because our last week's show was called Stacked, and Cribs does wear a tiny shirt. It's I believe it's toddler. It's toddler. It's a 5T.
It's European cut.
It's European cut for him. Another Jeff Glacken is Arnold at Arnold T Arena not tweeting today because he is in the slammer for stealing swag. Yes, he was. Can we roll the clip? Thank you. Curtis D. Snyder, he said, thanks at Stacey Ellison 4 for grabbing my literal 15 seconds on Auto Dealer Live today. Technology have failed us. Technology has failed you, sir, because you have failed technology. Don't blame technology. Technology had nothing to do with this, except for everything to do with it. So we apologize. We'll have you on again sometime, Curtis. Steve Stawning said, I think it was very nostalgic to have everyone sound like Charlie Brown's teacher on today's show. And yes, everyone did sound like a little something like that. And last but not least, our good friend Kevin Campbell said, Curtis Snyder has the cowboy hat, but Tommy Elwell has the Razor Ramon hair. You try to do this to me, and this is what happens to you.
If something happens to this, then something happens to you.
Hey, what up again? Razor's Edge. Forthcoming here.
So thanks so much for tuning in. Wasn't it just a blast? We'd love to have you. Thanks for keeping it going. You guys are pretty funny out there, so let's keep doing things so I can, have a job. So don't forget, hashtag AutoDealLive, hashtag /tags. Get us your content. If it's good enough, we'll use it. Till then, we'll see you next time.
We're back.
We
I
are
always
back.
get startled. I know we're coming back, but every time I get startled, I just do.
That's because you're not paying attention. Hey, you're looking at Twitter. Hey, let's jump into the show, guys. The next up, without further ado, on Auto Dealer Live is BDC Fail Panel. And I'm going to give Cribs the first question, but let's introduce our guest. We have Jared McCreevy, the Business Development Director at Auto Fair Automotive Group. We have Frank Lopes, VP at Forrester and Blake Marketing. Christian Salazar, Vice President Sales at Phone Ninjas. And we have Josh Mitchell, Business Development Director at Dan Cummings Chevrolet. So we got 2 guys that are sitting at dealerships right now that are joining us. So we're always happy when we get dealers to come on the show. Guys currently at dealerships. So guys, thanks for joining us, and we're going to jump right into the first question. I think we're going to use a live tweet that just came in because we like to do things like that.
Yeah, a little interactive policy here. I want to go to Frank Lopes. Frank, by the way, thanks for joining us. I've been missing you, and good to see you here on the show.
It's good to speak to you again, Dave. Good to see you. What's really good is seeing you on the show more often. That's fantastic.
Oh,
thanks, Frank.
Thank you, sir.
Big jerk. I know what you meant by that. Don't think I don't know what you meant. All right, whatever.
Yeah, Frank, so, Kevin Fry just tweeted
retweet.
out something very interesting. In fact, it opens up a whole line of different possibilities. But,
Besides cat herding.
Besides cat herding. He tweeted out a BDC is as efficient as herding cats in a market starving for personalized service. He says there's a market out there starving for personalized service. So if I read into that tweet, I'm guessing that maybe he's saying that the BDC is more like a call center and we're not creating that personalized service. What do you say to that?
Well, as usual, anything that Kevin puts out there is usually the truth, and it's got some roots to it, and it's got some teeth to it as well. And he's right. And I believe that all has to do with how your BDC is run. If it's run like, if you have no organization, if you have no morale in there, if your BDC people are treated like a bunch of hobbits that sit in a back room somewhere or in a cave and their only job is just to answer the phone and say, well, when can you come in? When can you come in? When can you come in? Then, yeah, the personalized part of that is going to be gone. But I know I work with dealers that have BDCs that run just as efficiently as sales departments, and BDC reps or BDRs or whatever you want to call them, that develop. They're the first line in developing that personal relationship between the dealership and the customer, and I know a lot of them that do an absolutely fantastic job. The guy who runs one that comes right to the top of my mind, we're blessed to have him as a guest on the show today.
Well, speaking of the guests that are on the show today, I'm assuming that you're talking about either Jared or Josh, not because Christian is not great, but I'm assuming one of the guys at the dealership. So I want to actually put this out there for Jared and Josh, and Josh, we'll let you answer first. But so is it then possibly that maybe we have a labeling or terminology issue? Because I think that CJ Romig, and we hear this a lot, and I saw a tweet pop up that just said basically like, hey, millennials training, I forgot what else he said. Millennials training, leadership, blah, blah, blah. I'll sum it up for you. So, in other words, I don't want to repeat some of the same things. And, of course, CJ says, don't tell me what to do, Tommy. What are you telling them? You tweeting them? Hey, so I'm going to ask Josh and Jared this question. Is it a terminology issue? Because I think that in an era where salespeople are calling on dealerships in one respect, because the manufacturers are demanding and mandating that business development centers, are implemented at dealerships, even if they don't know what they're really asking them to implement. And then, so the terminology, if I'm calling as a salesperson, and my definition of BDC possibly is different than XYZ company's definition of BDC, but they don't. So is it a terminology issue? Because what's is it a terminology issue, I guess, and then B, Josh and Jared. Then if it is, what do we do about that? How do we get it right? Because there's dealers that don't know what to do. So they're settled for a call center. And then the reality is Kevin Fry couldn't have been any more accurate that this is a people business. And I think that when you do that, you're going to sell more cars. You're going to be more efficient and more effective. So I'll give that to you, Josh, and let you and Jared take that and toss it around.
Yeah, I think it is, the terminology obviously is hurting because you call it a BDC and nobody knows what that is. I did a job ad and changed it to inside sales, and it was surprising how many more applicants I got because people knew exactly what that was. And so I think that maybe we do need to change it from business development center to inside sales because it is sales. It's not a glorified receptionist answering calls. Yes, it's a call center, but we have to, train these people to be just as good or better than the sales force that we have now because they're the first impression. And so maybe it is identity crisis and we need to change that.
Jared, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, the BDC is definitely a terminology that most people don't know and don't understand. It is inside sales. The idea of the BDC is to develop business, to assist with getting people in the door. A lot of people talk about appointments, and the most important factor is for them to just get bodies in the door. So the connotation towards BDC, people don't know what it is. Yeah, I agree. It is a bad terminology. And inside sales, or to me, internet department is more appropriate.
Yeah.
Hey, before Tommy or Dave, I don't know, just one thing, just piggybacking on the two of that, because I want to two things. I want to encourage you on Twitter, and we're going to make sure Lewis, you guys pop them up on everyone so we can see. I'd like to encourage you guys to throw some questions out. We have questions here, but I really want to put these guys on the spot and see if we can ask them real live questions that you want asked right here on air. But one of the things I want to say really quick too, because we have a BDC here, and Tommy, you're related to this, being here 8 years, and the entire time you have been here, we've grown our BDC. But of course, we serve the auto industry, and we just moved in a manager who is phenomenal, but she doesn't have automotive experience. But we didn't need that. We had plenty of automotive experience. We needed management experience to help us get our numbers up. Well, I'm going to make this quick. What we did, and what we find is it's hard to hire for that position. And Josh, you hit something about sales, because the reality is that's what it is. And she ran call center, and we found that when we run call center ads, because the terminology call center gets thrown around sometimes, like, hey, I'm working over in the call center. Some of our guys say that, but the reality is it's not Verizon call center, man. You're not doing some of that stuff. I mean, you're selling a customer. And so we've had issues where if we don't identify that in an ad, then we're not going to get that in a resume or in an applicant. And when they come in, even if they doctor their resume or got over on us with that, we get them in the door and they don't last. Does that make sense? So the truth of the matter is, you're only shooting yourself in the foot if you don't define this. Does that make sense, Tommy?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I was wondering if we, and I actually like what I think it was Jared said.
Yeah.
I think what Jared said, he changed it from a BDC rep, which really no one knows what
Josh.
that is. I'm sorry, Josh, and to inside sales.
That's good.
Now, I guess the question that's actually very creative. And I'm sure you get a higher caliber of salesperson in that respect. But are BDC people getting paid the salesperson type wage at a dealership?
And that's a big problem, Christian. A lot of BDC.
Good. I'm sorry.
Josh, go ahead and answer that question, and then Christian.
That's a big problem with a lot of BDCs is that we want someone who we want to pay somebody $9 an hour, but we want a $90,000 a year job quality of work, and it just doesn't work. You have to pay your BDC. If you're not paying them, then you're going to get the quality that you're getting. If I pay my people, I mean, they make good money, and there's good reason for it, because I don't want, a $9 an hour person that I'm constantly churning and losing people, because that costs even more money to lose people, and so pay them. I mean, geez, we're asking them to do so much more than from like sales. Salespeople can't follow up, so we get a BDC. They can't take inbound phone calls, so we get a BDC. And yet we pay a salesperson $100,000 a year for producing 15 car deals.
So
doesn't make sense to me.
So there's obviously, but see, that's what I'm saying. The thought was when they put together BDCs, they weren't going to be an inside sales force that could use the phone. They had to be thought of as something else. So how do we? Is that shifted in the business across the board, or are we, as the BDC itself, trying to redefine itself?
Let Christian answer that, because in Christian, not only adding to what Tommy just asked, because Dave and I've had, but even prior to Tommy hosting, we've interviewed on this subject a lot. We've had debates and all types of things. I mean, we've had it smacked up, flipped it, and we've rubbed it down, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like Belle Biv, not to quote a Belle Biv DeVoe song. So my question, Christian, is to piggyback on the Tommy's. Yes, it's shifted. I'm going to answer that, but here's the deal. Why? Because the truth, and let's get into that part of it as well, Christian. So let's talk about sales floor BDC 101. I mean, in the reality, inside salespeople are going to also, if they're really coming in on an inside sales job description, I want to know how much money I can make. I don't want to be capped. Hey, that means I'm in sales. That means I can set my own income. So, hey, why can't I take this up? Why can't I get this up and take them from cradle to grave? So let me ask that, Christian. I mean, why is there such resistance on taking it from cradle to grave then, if I'm going to hire somebody that's a stud or studette?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say both Josh and Jared have really good BDCs. A lot of them aren't ran like that. There's a lot of consultants in this industry today that say they go, well, fix your BDC or set them up. And if I'm a salesperson, I want to go sell cars, or I'm green and I need to go do something and figure out what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to work at a dealership like Josh's or Jared's, because the salespeople aren't taking the incoming sales calls. So I know when I was on the lot, when I was selling cars, it was a fight to answer that phone. And I'm not saying that was the most efficient thing, but man, we went through phone training. We had to know exactly what to say. We had a process. The GM was active out there on the floor. If he heard us mishandling a phone call, we did not get to touch the phone and until a manager role played with us and we knew exactly what we were doing on the phone. So that'd be the first thing that I said. And then kind of like what Josh was saying about the career path, that was the other thing that I'd like to ask Josh and Jared that, is your BDC cultivating and growing and developing salespeople that can have a career path that go on, move into management, and they're going to think the grass is greener on the other side, and you're either going to move them up in the ranks through your organization, or they're going to leave.
So you're saying is a BDC an incubator for salespeople? Is that basically what you asked?
Yeah, or an incubator to figure out what someone's talent is and move them where they can be more effective. Because I just know I don't see a BDC rep as doing the same thing for longer than a year, longer than maybe 6 months. If
Go
I'm
ahead.
making,
Chris,
if I'm
weigh
making
in on that,
dials,
Chris.
trying to set appointments, that's, I want them moving out of that position.
Okay. So I'm kind of boiling over here. Let's cut to the chase. Let's ask this, and I'm gonna start with Jared, and then we'll ask.
Why are you boiling? I'm gonna stir the pot. Why are you boiling? What could we do? Tell me.
Because here's the deal.
I don't think we should let that go. I think we should talk about that.
Here's the deal. The internet department and BDC, whatever you want to call it, is defined differently from store to store. That's a fact. And the first question I have for both Jared and Christian is, what does it look like at their store? Is their internet department set up to just take internet leads? Is it incoming phone calls? Do they work them from A to Z? What does that look like? And then going back to the original question of maybe creating something that doesn't look like a call center, that's more personal for personalized service with a client. How do you create that culture if you're separated from the sales team and you are in a room or in a certain area of the dealership? How does that play out? Let's go to Jared.
Okay.
So I'll start back, Dave, to when I was down there in Tampa, working down the road from you guys at Tampa Honda. When I ran the internet department down there, it was 4 BDC reps that I brought in and 4 internet managers that worked internet leads from cradle to grave. So that's all they got was internet leads, no phone ups. And the BDC reps handled all inbound phone ups as well as long-term follow-up, unsold showroom prospects, service, and so forth for the salespeople on the floor. Right, so where I'm at now, we have 5, soon to be 6 BDC reps that handle all inbound sales calls, all internet leads to appointment, and then we transition them to a salesperson, product specialist, whatever you want to call it, once they're here and in the store.
Okay. So I hear that, and I want to bring up something too. Hey, thank you, Jared, for bringing that up, and we're going to try to get this conversation just inclusive for everyone here. But Steve Stauning, tweeted something, and I want to address this. He said, if you're too hung up on what it's called, you never get it off the ground. But here, and I know where he's going on that, and I tend to agree, Steve, with the exception. The reason I brought that up is, and I'm not defending it because I asked that question. I'm bringing that up because I think the guys would agree. Josh or Christian said Josh and Jared have the way they do it at their store is effective. They have good phone skills. They have good phone team. They have a good BDC. So my question is it possibly because they know how to define it? It's you know what I'm saying? In other words,
yes.
Forget what you call it. It's I know what to define it. And then my second part is, Christian, I mean, and Frank, let me ask this question maybe based on what Christian said. Why can't it be trained? For instance, if it's working for Josh, I'm looking at Josh. He's a great guy. We met him. He's a tall guy, good-looking guy. But I mean, does Josh hold a secret sauce that only Josh can hold? Meaning, like, for instance, can it be duplicated? Can it be recreated again? Can it be, can it be passed on? Can it be taught? And so my question kind of always goes that direction because, so Frank, weigh in on that for a second, because I think that's probably why so many dealers are hung up on it. They hear BDC, and if they're not educated and taught this, but what they are taught is, hey, the manufacturer comes in and says, this is what we need you to do. Last year when they mandated the Chevy stores, GM mandates, hey, BDC in all of our stores. Well, what does that look like? All of a sudden, come on, I've been in the car business for a long time. What that looks like when a dealer doesn't understand something. We hired an ex-GM here, Frank, to sell our product a couple years ago. He was a general manager for a group. He was in the business for about 20 years, 25 years. Now, he didn't do well doing this. But he's a great car guy. He's the GM at a dealership now. I won't mention his name, but he was here, and we listened to him one day. Remember when he said something in the meeting? He goes, guys, let me tell you something. He said, I'm going to tell you that I can't even recall how many times as a general manager that I sat on the other end of an advertising call. Okay, I know we're talking about BDC, but I want to kind of see if I can link this. And the person selling me the product was talking over my head on things that I didn't know, but I was too prideful to tell him I didn't know, and he never asked. So therefore, I left that call not understanding 30% of really what he was saying, but never told him, and of course I didn't buy the product. So my question is, do they really understand 100% what it takes to build a BDC? And if the answer is no, then will they effectively do it? So Frank, that's why I think it's important.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the answer is no, and it goes along with so many other things in our industry that I believe cripple dealers, is the fact that they don't educate themselves, they don't know enough, the pride gets in the way, it shuts down. Maybe half a job is executed at it, it fails, and then they say, well, BDCs don't work, and that's not the case. It really comes from knowing what your vision is. What you call it really doesn't matter. Who cares what it's called? What matters is that it works. And what matters is that, all of your advertising dollars, all of your marketing dollars, all of it is all put out there to create opportunities for the dealership. Mm-hmm. What's most important is that those opportunities are maximized and that things don't fall through the cracks. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful here in any way towards Jared or Josh. Mm-hmm. Both of them have, so to say, the secret sauce here, but it can easily be duplicated. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I work with a lot of dealers that have the same setup as both Jared and Josh do in their BDCs. And to be quite frank, those dealers are killing it. They're killing it in every one of their markets. And it's because things don't fall through the cracks. Everything that comes in goes to a BDC agent, a BDR, I don't care what you call that person either, but it goes to somebody in the BDC who now that baby is dropped in their lap, and it's their responsibility to make sure that that customer gets the information that they need, that they get the warm feeling from the dealership that they're looking for, and that it turns into a selling opportunity for the dealership and an opportunity to serve that customer.
Okay.
All right. Somebody want to field this one? I don't know who wants to field that. You can jump in, and then you can take your turns if you want. A couple different tweets kind of echoing the same thing. One of the tweets that came in was, if the managers did their job, no dealership would need a BDC. What do you think about that?
I'll weigh in. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, Frank, you go first, and then Frank, you can go first, and then Josh.
I don't know who said it, but I think that's a little bit off. I think if managers, in this case, if managers did their jobs, their BDCs would totally kill it.
There you go.
If managers got up and they went in the back and they got their BDC agents, like I said in the beginning of the show, if they didn't treat them like hobbits that were in the back of a cave somewhere, if they actually went out there and engaged with them, if they brought them into sales meetings, if they had roundtable discussions with them, what do you guys need? What can we do to help you out? What's effective? What's not effective? If they got them involved more, they would see results that they wouldn't ever think were possible.
Okay.
Okay. Christian.
And this is Christian.
Yeah,
so
you're next.
I think the salespeople should be taking the calls. The salespeople that are interacting with your customers on the showroom should be taking the calls. Hell, some of them should even be taking the internet leads. I mean, that's what I would want. If I had my BDC, I'm looking at that. I'm making prospecting calls. I'm calling orphan owners. I'm calling unsold showroom traffic that my salespeople aren't following up anymore because it's 10 days, it's 2 weeks old. I'm data mining. I'm going to find off-lease consumers. I'm not feeding my BDC calls that the dealership was going to get either anyways. Josh was saying, hey, we're not glorified receptionists or appointment setters or anything like that, but let your salespeople do that. The tweet that came in saying, hey, if we had great managers, no one would need BDCs. I don't believe in that. I think there's always ways that we can create and develop business, but I see a BDC more as going for stuff that's not right in front of you and giving them phone calls, and every single internet lead sounds like, hey. The person
though, Christian, that said that, I'm sure, and I didn't even see the tweet. But the person that said that, I'm sure, again, and I'm not going to get hung up on this anymore, is maybe trying again to identify what a BDC is, because certainly that person would not say, if the managers are doing their job, we don't need anybody handling phone calls, they can do it themselves. That's not what they meant. So their definition again might have been maybe not need an additional layer. So let's talk about this for a second. I'm going to ask Jared this, just a yes or no question, and before we do that, listen, we're going to open the phone lines. A guy named Jake from Toyota, I just saw it pop up, said something about closing 50% of their BDC appointments and said if it's done right. Steve Stanning's tweeting a lot. If you guys want to jump in, we'll take a couple calls. If you guys get a couple calls, Lou, Ezra, Mikey, Kim, just bring them on, and we'll let you guys ask a question, and then we'll drop you off. 813 574-1820. We'd love for you to interact with us today, both on social media and on the phone. But let me ask this question to Jared. Just a yes/no question. So, Jared, you have a person who reaches out to you, a stud or studette, man or woman who is phenomenal. They just come in. There's no cap, but they're going to be coming in under your internet BDC platform and guidelines. Can that person make at your dealership as much money as any salesperson that you have, period, from front to back? Can that person make as much money? Yes or no, Jared?
Simple answer, no.
Okay, so the answer is no. So here's my question, and I'm asking this to Josh. Can they make yes or no? Can a person in a BDC under your model, can they make as much money as anybody in sales at your dealership?
No.
Okay, here's my question. You have a question?
Well, my question is,
why
should they be able to?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not saying that's wrong or right. You guys are doing, but my question is this: if I'm able to come in, and maybe this is one of the ways we should look at it possibly. If I'm able to come in, for instance, we have outside sales, inside sales. Our guys in inside sales here, make as much money as an outside rep. And so should we look at it that way and maybe say, hey, if we can really train them on an inside sales platform, we should pay them as much money as anybody else as long as they could get that deal. And if the answer is no, I just want to know maybe why, and maybe you guys can enlighten me on that. And what do you think, Jared? Why not? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying why not?
Right. Typically across the country, I would say the average for a BDC rep is between 30 and 40 grand. Somebody can pop in and say that I'm incorrect there, but from the stores that I've been at, that's been the rough idea. And here at my store, they have the potential of making between 50 and 70 as a BDC rep. The potential is not capped. Mm-hmm. It's all based on how many people you can connect with, get in the door, and then buy. And every store is different depending on their pay plan. If they want to pay on ratio, show and sold or whatnot, every store is different. But here they do have a potential of earning, high five figures. Can they get into the low sixes? It'd be difficult, but I mean, if we were a higher volume store, it's definitely a possibility. But I say the reason why they cannot make as much as a salesperson is because they're dealing with just the initial hand-holding and not through the rest of the process.
Let me ask something, Cribs. Maybe mix this in your question, okay? Sure. How about this? What is it? You got a caller? Okay, we're going to bring a caller in. Just bring that caller in, and a caller, we'll introduce you in just a second, or we'll get you to introduce yourself. I want to ask this question, Josh, okay? Again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I just need some clarity here for myself. Josh, you got a BDC rep. And just give me, like, the best of your knowledge, kind of run down 5-6 things. What, from start to finish, do they do regarding selling a car to John Smith? Just give me, like, 5-6 bullet points really quick, what their responsibility is.
Well, I mean, it's the first impression, obviously.
Okay.
They need to give the availability, condition of the vehicle, the general knowledge of if we're doing a credit app or anything like that. Processing that piece of the
are they possibly calling that customer back or when okay, so they're initiating the contact, they're reaching out, they're getting them on the phone. Okay, so they get them in the door. Then what does your salesperson do possibly to take that person over when they get there? What responsibilities do they do?
They pull up the vehicle and show it and put paperwork together.
All right. Here's my question. I'm going to tell you, I think that this thing could be turned on its ear, guys. If I owned a dealership today, I'm going to tell you the first job is a lot harder than the second job. We all know that. So I'd like to delve into more, man, how this industry can revolutionize by really, really paying some people that are willing to bust their freaking tail on inside sales. I think you could be onto something.
Yeah, but I think we need to give. Well, I think we need to give the salesperson a little bit more credit.
Well, I just asked what his salespeople do. They pull the car up and they do the paperwork. Well, let me ask you a question. What kind of moron BDC person is it that can't pull a car up and do paperwork either?
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. I think that most professional salespeople, even if they've been handed a lead, are really going to start from scratch in a sense. I mean, the customer is there, yes, but they're going to start right over with the same process we've been doing for years. They're going to meet the customer. They're going to talk about their needs. They're going to present the presentation based on the customer's needs. Yes, they have some intel. Yes, the BDC got the customer there, which is huge, by the way. No discredit to BDC, but I think it takes a team, and I think the culture has to be equal. Now, are you saying that it has to be equal pay? Well, when I say the culture has to be equal, I think we need to value each other the same. However, when it comes to pay, I think, someone said, and I think it was Jeff Cowan, and I'm not sure who he quoted, but, you have to, in order to be a Navy fighter pilot, you have to be able to land the plane on the aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean. Now, you can say the BDC rep doesn't have that opportunity, but if they don't, then it's up to them to move on into that other field.
I'm going to respectively disagree with him, but we'll talk about that later. And with the fact that with the fact that we can increase, Frank, I think we can increase business. I think we can increase money if we literally redefined, reshaped, retitled, renamed this BDC position and let them do the rest if there's more money in it. There could be the possibility that you could literally produce something that is significantly revolutionary. I'm talking like own the market. Tommy, we have a caller.
We do have a caller. Let me pull it up on who it is. I had it, and then you guys kept talking.
We'll let them introduce themselves.
North Georgia Toyota.
Jake, how are you, buddy?
Who are you with, Jake?
Great, man. It's a honor to be on here. I'm an internet manager at a Toyota dealership in Dalton, Georgia.
Dalton, Georgia.
All right, so give
Who's your question for, if you don't mind, or is it in general?
I would say it's just in general.
We're going to give it to Jared then, because he's kind of up next on the docket. So go ahead, Jake.
Okay, my question would be, I know several of you guys are mentioning, the cradle to grave process. My question is, how do those people most efficiently handle the volume coming in? Because a lot of times, they're going to be tied up with a customer and a new lead comes in. Mm-hmm. So how do you make sure that you're, properly following up in a timely manner with all your leads to maximize opportunities?
Thank you very much, ma'am, Jake, for listening, and thanks for calling in. Jared, you want to take a swing at that?
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of the salespeople getting internet leads for that reason, but it depends on the size of the store and how much floor traffic, phone traffic, internet lead traffic that you get, how you set up your BDC or internet team or salespeople to handle those. So like what he's referring to is that if you're at a decent volume store and you have, let's say, 4, 5, 6, or 10 salespeople handling internet leads, if they're all busy at one point in time, who does the leads that are coming in now fall onto to respond to and maintain consistency, right? Because the salespeople on the floor, their mentality is to sell a car, not sell an appointment, where BDC's mentality is to sell an appointment, get them in the door so that we can then sell them a car. So that's why I say that you need to have a BDC, but I do agree with what Kevin Campbell said earlier in the comments, that a BDC is great grounds for grooming salespeople to do the proper follow-up and to be on the floor to turn your store into an internet store.
Hal Talbot said, looking to outsource our BDC. Any suggestions? I don't want to. Pluggy. We're not going to plug. But just in case anybody's listening that outsources BDCs, that's Hal Talbot. Talbot. Look up Hal under the hashtag Auto Dealer Live.
I think we do that.
David, this is Christian.
Christian, go for it, brother.
So you were saying, hey, this could be revolutionary. Yeah, in Jared and Josh's case, if they just let them, they're a sales team that don't go on test drives. So just what you were saying, you don't have to revolutionize everything. Just fire the new car and the used car manager, and let Jared and Josh lead the sales team, and their people can go on the test drives too. It's done. And then you don't have that.
But are you being serious?
Person.
Are you being serious? Are you being serious? Or I can't tell, or a little sarcastic? Well, the reason I'm asking that is because I actually think
I'm being serious.
I actually agree. Listen, for once, Christian, for once on this conversation, on this side of it, not with you, but I agree with that. I sincerely do, Frank. Just think about this for a second, and maybe I drink the wrong kind of Kool-Aid or something before we started. But the deal is, think about this, man. I don't really know that it's ever going to go, obviously, back to where it was. It's only going to progress. So if you have people that are going to be initiated online, which the larger percentage every day of people that buy cars are initiated online, there's products that do everything from targeting people's IP addresses to, all over the place, which obviously mean nothing. There's useless as tits on a bowl if you don't, okay? Have the ability to assimilate them correctly, but let's say you do, and you have the ability to track them and get the analytics, really have that. Then my question is, why not? And then, because then in effect, all you really have, it's kind of like an inside sales manager here, Tommy, versus an outside sales manager. Really, so What do you think, Cribs? Let's pose it. Let's get another question going. We've only got about 7 or 8 minutes.
Well, here's a question I wanted to bring up, and we'll go to Christian real quick, and then Jared, and then Frank,
yeah,
please.
Say Frank.
What do you think that a new salesperson coming in without experience, someone who comes into the dealership, applies for a sales job, or wants to begin selling cars, do you think that they should begin their career selling, or should there be should they go right into the internet department, BDC, and learn that skill so that it will help them as they go into sales? What do you say?
Yeah, I think that if your dealership has a BDC, then that's where you should start off. So, back when I started off, there wasn't BDCs. We were just starting to get Auto Trader leads and Cars.com leads and website leads from the OEM. So I didn't come up in that, but I had a very good friend. His name is Steve Cook at Lober Motors in Lincolnwood, Illinois, and that's exactly how they build their sales team. If you're successful in the BDC, you're gonna move on and start selling cars on the showroom floor, and you already have all those skills that you learned.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. How about Jared?
I would say yes, that would be the best way, because one of the things that dealerships complain about across the country is lack of their salespeople doing follow-up, knowing the CRM system, putting the notes in. So if they go to the BDC first, they'll learn the ins and outs of the CRM, how to do the proper follow-up, and what's expected of them. Mm-hmm. The downside is that when they go on the sales floor, they're not still held to that same accountability, from their sales managers, new, used, whatever, as they are from their BDC manager. So it's going to be across the board if that's going to be the case.
Okay. Hey, Frank Lopes. So we're hearing people are weighing in heavily on this. And by the way, to answer Kevin Fry's question, somebody looking for an outsourced BDC? Yes, somebody is. Hal Talbot. And Steve Stoney said this. Frank, he said IPD me. He said hit it. Paraphrasing, of course, he said overpay the first person in the sales chain. Most important. So, Frank, about that, as we kind of wrap this up, we got about 4 minutes, guys. We're going to give everybody a chance to have closing. But Frank, is there something to that? Kevin Campbell says, groom your store to be an internet store, and you'll have an internet store, and the BDC won't be necessary. So again, there's that terminology. It doesn't matter what you call it. What he's basically saying is, hey, set your store up to be a store that's an internet store. I'm pretty sure as long as you have human beings, if somebody stumbled into the dealership and didn't come through the internet, then obviously we know how to deal with that person. What's wrong with somebody handling it from cradle to grave, Frank? Is there something really wrong with that?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it being handled cradle to grave by one person. It's just, I think that it's a unicorn these days. I don't see a lot of dealerships. I know of one off the top of my head, but it's one out of the hundreds that I know of that was able to do cradle to grave effectively, and that's because those salespeople, I got to be straight, they were treated and they were paid like salespeople. Let's go back again to compensation a little bit. Everybody goes to work basically to get paid. We all got mortgages. We all have responsibilities. You're not going there to hang out. Mm-hmm. And, pay has a lot to do with it. So I think when you have an internet department, so to say, we're going to put some labels on stuff here. If you have an internet department where a salesperson works cradle to grave, that's because that person is getting paid, to do it. And I think I know 100% that if BDRs, BDC people, if the pay was higher, the quality of people that we would be able to get in would be much higher. We would be able to get much better results out of them. Caller? It's like what Josh said before. You're going to pay somebody $20, $30 grand, $9, $10 an hour. What do you think you're going to get for that? You're going to get $9, $10 an hour.
Awesome. And we're going to give each of you guys a couple of minutes to close up here. We're going to start. We have a caller that called in, actually managing partner for Youngblood Auto Group. Managing partner for Youngblood Auto Group. He's on the phone with us.
John Whitaker.
John, are you on the phone? Oh, what's that? Mikey's sending me. Okay, give me the thumbs up when he's actually on the phone. All right, so John Whitaker, managing partner for Youngblood Auto Group. I want to hear what he's got to say. He's a managing partner. He's a dealer. Runs a group here. I'm not really sure where Youngblood is. So when John's on, you guys give me the thumbs up, and then we'll let John's on. Okay. Hey, so Josh, really quick then, until John comes on here in a second. Let me ask you that, man. Is it something that you would consider doing? John's on. All right, John Whitaker. Hey, we know you're a managing partner for Youngblood Auto Group. Thanks for calling in and listening. Where are you guys located?
Orange Springfield, Missouri.
Orange Springfield, Missouri, man. Well, thank you for calling in. And do you have just a general question or comment, or is there a question for somebody on the panel specifically?
No, it's kind of general because I clicked onto this because this is a challenge that I'm currently kind of getting frustrated with or dealing with right now.
Okay.
You guys, refer to, whether it's called a BDC or internet department, or because there's so many words for it. The structure that we have at the store right now, and we're a pretty high volume store. We did about 327 units last month.
Okay. Congratulations. That's good.
The internet department accounted for 90 of those units. And what I do is I have 4 or 5 guys up there that handle nothing. They're allocated X amount of internet leads per month to handle them from cradle to grave. And I've been lowering the amount of leads that I've been giving them every month in an effort to squeeze that effort so that they don't let stuff go dormant.
Okay.
In addition to that, we've got a BDC agent that's assigned to them for long-term follow-up. And then we also have AVA, or the virtual assistant. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that software that is constantly sending emails out to the dormant customers in the CRM.
I'm familiar with
Yes.
other products like it, and yeah. So
right. So
go ahead.
So they handle it cradle to grave, and then I have BD. I guess you could call them BDC. I got 3 guys that are responsible to handle nothing but the inbound calls.
Okay.
And then there's a manager in that room. It's in a separate building that's attached to our facility, and he is the one that makes sure the leads are getting allocated properly, and that our response time is like less than 7 minutes here. And so we've got all that great stuff going on, okay? And I still think I'm still frustrated. And the reason I'm frustrated is because something that hasn't come up in any of this conversation is mass outbound activity.
Right.
I've got 40,000 people in that CRM that have requested data from us at one point or another. I've got another 60,000 people in my service database. What about guys that have phone rooms with phone people in them that are doing active outbound calling and setting 20 to 30 appointments up a day for the store?
Sure. Well,
trade out of their car.
Hey, and I'm going to say this too, and thank you, John. But I'll say this, and I know that's you're more of a comment and kind of putting it out there and saying this is what you're frustrated with. But I'm going to tell you something that my buddy Matt does, Matt Lasco at Lasco Ford does, and I'm telling you, man, we and I'm not. This is not a plug for us, but we do. We have an online training platform that's sales generated here at our company, and we're actually implementing this as we speak and putting together material for this for dealers, because Matt Lasco sells about 325 at his Fenton store, and then he does about 130 or so at his certified or now a pre-owned dealership. So he does a little over 500 cars. And he does something called Power Hour. I mentioned this several times, but I got really turned on by it. He said he pulls his guys an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon off the floor unless they're with the customer literally that moment. He pulls them into the phone room. These aren't his BDC. These are his salespeople. Pulls them into a phone room, and they call every customer, everybody that's on the uplog, anybody that's come in, and any leads, and they go through it. And they have they have managers walking the floor during this time. And when they get a customer on the phone, they do an instant TO. They create an instant turnover by saying, along the lines of, hey, listen, John, hey, this is Joe over at Lasco. Hey, you came in last week, and I really appreciate that. But, hey, you know something? Hold on one second, man. My manager actually wanted me to get a hold of you. He has a quick question for you. I think we have some way to help you. Boom. TOs it. And he said they convert a high percentage of those, and they literally sell an average of 3 vehicles a day when they do that per week. And so, I'm going to tell you, man, I think there's something to the outbound. I think there's something to this sales thing, and we do it here. And I think that the inside sales that's applied at a dealership will revolutionize. And Matt Lasco, by the way, is doing this in a town of 12,000, and he's so he's cranking it. But I'd love to have permission to just reach out to you maybe after the show and just introduce myself and to you in general. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah. What do you want? My email or phone number? Or?
Yeah, just give me your phone number, and I'll call you after the show because I'd like to.
Number at the store is 417.
417. You write that down for me, Chris.
882. 3838.
All right, thank you very much, John. And I'm going to let these guys weigh in too. Let's start with Josh Mitchell. Josh, take 2 minutes. Give us whatever you want to say, because we're all over the place in a good way. And then also, make that your closing remarks as well. And then I'd like to have permission to invite the 4 of you guys back on very, very soon. I want to move a show around in then maybe 3 weeks or so and have you guys back on so we can take on more of this topic. Would you guys be down for that?
I'm down with that.
Good.
Definitely down for that.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, yeah. Well, the BDC and the sales platform is not broken by any stretch of the imagination. But you have to have a culture, like we talked about earlier. You have to have a culture where the sales team and the BDC and the sales managers and the BDC manager and director, everybody has to work together to make it work. Yes, you can have an internet department that does it cradle to grave. It works fine for some. But in a store like mine where I'm getting 2,500 internet leads and 3,500 phone calls, it doesn't work for us. But what we have created has worked for us, and the culture that we've built with our people and to continue to train and do different things with them has helped us create the monster that we've created. And so just because that worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but you at least have to create a plan and start executing it, because the days of not thinking that you need someone answering the phones that knows what they're doing or someone who knows how to answer an internet lead are over. It's done talking about it. It's time to do it.
Right.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to do something. Hey, guys on the panel, do you guys have, if we extended this another 10 minutes or so, do you guys have another 10 minutes to talk for a little bit so we can get into it? Do you guys have a few minutes longer?
Yeah, we got 10 more minutes.
If we have to do this so really quick, can we keep these guys on and then just do our 3 minutes worth of commercials? Because I want to get those in for our sponsors. Guys, if you're to hold with us, I want to continue this conversation for maybe 10 or 15 more minutes, because there's a ton of things that are coming in that I want to give you guys more time and maybe even take a couple more calls. But we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes after these breaks with the same guys on this panel, and we're going to discuss this for a few more minutes. All right, so don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Chip Perry. Earlier this year, we made a pledge to dealers that outlined some major changes designed to make TrueCar a more positive place for you to do business. I can't say enough how valuable your feedback has been and how much we believe that your ongoing advice and guidance will enable us to continue to improve our service to you in meaningful ways. On behalf of everyone at TrueCar, I want to sincerely thank you for your support and guidance while we are making these fundamental changes needed to ensure that TrueCar works better for you. See more at truecar.com/pledge.
Go with the pros who know. Your dealership wouldn't trust its vehicles in the hands of an uncertified technician. So why trust its finances with accounting firms that don't know your business? Rosenfield & Company knows the automotive industry and has been serving dealerships like yours for over 20 years. We take pride in helping our clients grow from single-point stores to some of the largest dealer groups in the country. We are more than just your accountants. Our team can guide you through mergers and acquisitions, operational reviews, succession planning, and more. Visit us on the web for more information at www.rosenfieldandco.com.
Jason Rice from Lot Pop, and let me tell you what we do to help dealerships increase used car sales 20 to 30% in gross in volume. 3 areas we focus on: trend reports. We look at weekly trends that no one else is trending to make adjustments on our inventory. 2 is we do weekly review calls to review those trends, but also we dig through every car that needs to be price adjusted to increase the searches. And 3, we do a virtual lot walk, make sure every car is standing tall in line and make sure we don't have bad photos like these. Check out our website, lotpop.com. our blog at automotiverevolution.com, and our weekly video tips at increaseturn.com. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Alan Ram, president and founder of Alan Ram's Proactive Training Solutions. Let's face it, good managers are defined not by what they do when they have a showroom full of customers, but more by what they do when there are no customers in the showroom. In 2015, whether you like it or not, the car business is all about conversion of opportunities and driving traffic. All those great closers and desk people are not doing you a whole lot of good if your dealership is not converting effectively on the telephone and internet. As an owner or dealer, when you see 5 salespeople standing by the front door doing nothing, don't kid yourself. Your dealership is not being effectively managed. Management by Fire is a 2.5-day intensive course conducted entirely by me that teaches managers how to effectively manage in today's automotive industry. Simple processes for driving high-quality traffic. For more information on upcoming events, please call my team at 866-996-4665. Once again, 866-996-4665. Thank you.
Service Group has over 40 years of experience empowering dealerships to grow profits, develop personnel, and provide their customers with a high level of service. We offer high-quality products, world-class servicing, and innovative training and technology. Meet our team, first-class trainers, the best account managers, and an executive team that's second to none.
This is your Service Group team. We look forward to giving your people the power to perform.
Welcome back to Auto Dealer Live. And we're engaging today. We're talking BDC, internet practices, what's the difference, salespeople, cradle to grave, you name it, we're covering it. And I want to invite everyone to call in. You know, we've already had a few dealers call in live today on the show. We're happy to get you on. Give us a call at 813-574-1820. And I'm going to shout out to you, Kevin Fry, because you've been active on Twitter. Give us a call. Join in this conversation.
And we're going to also extend the show another 15 minutes or so. So just because of you.
Yeah, we're going to keep this thing going. You know, Jay Lasco tweeted out, why aren't we thinking of BDC reps as salespeople? They're just as valuable to our process. And I don't think we would argue that, but speak to that, Jared. What do you think? Why are we maybe not giving as much credit to the BDC reps as we maybe should?
It's good.
Can you repeat that question, David? Sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
Yeah, no worries. Jay Lasco tweeted out the fact that, you know, why are we not thinking of BDC reps as valuable as salespeople? So maybe you can give us some insight there from the floor.
Well, that's it. To me, it's more of a mentality and a train of thought that a lot of people have in the industry, being a little bit more, I'll say, old school versus new school, millennials and so forth, where one of the dealerships I worked at, the sales manager, GSM, said he'll be nothing but a floor guy and doesn't care about the BDC and so forth, which creates a separation. So mentally, he thinks that BDC is nothing but receptionist, glorified receptionist, even though we're here to help bring people in the door for them to have people to sell. You know what I mean? So that they're not putting the whole weight in on it. They think that because we sit at a desk all day, call, email, even do videos, that we're not doing as much work as their salespeople who are generally standing by a window. And I've termed it, coined it, whatever you want to call it, window lickers, because they stand there by a window waiting for the UPS bus to come on the lot, you know, instead of prospecting, calling people, emailing, or going out to a Walmart parking lot to try to put tags on people's cars and whatnot. They don't do anything but wait while the BDC is consistently working day in and day out to generate more business for the store.
Yeah, let me pose another part of that, though, Jared. Let me ask you this. For those veteran salespeople that are on the floor that you're kind of referring to, do you think that they might say, well, hey, you know, it's not really fair to look at us that way when you're receiving all of the leads? Why don't you let us take all the leads and we'll play a part in that?
Well, it's funny because Frank Lopes had mentioned this while we were on break. But if you look at their mentality, I mentioned earlier on that the mentality for the salespeople, whether they're green pea, new to the business, or they're veterans, is that they want to sell cars, not sell appointments.
Right.
So a lot of them don't have the right mindset or mentality, the train of thought to try to get somebody enough information to tease them to want to come in. They either overindulge and give too much information, or they just try to do what Joe Webb had a video of years ago: just get them in, just get them in, just get them in, and then the customer goes somewhere else. So I'm down for them to have the opportunity, you know, but the moment that I see that they're not doing it right and they're not willing to learn and train and do something differently, they're out completely.
So Christian, let me throw that to you, and I think our phone's ringing in here. We're having a lot of activity, so our guys are going to be bringing on I think a couple of other dealers here, ask some questions. But let me ask this, Christian, same question. I mean, if let's talk about phone training. Let's talk about what a dealership should or should not be doing. Let's talk about accountability. I mean, throw this question out there. I mean, you have desk managers that have somebody, or you have an internet manager that has people on the phone. Are they? I mean, should they be monitoring and listening to the calls, and to find out what they've got? I mean, is that something they should be doing, Christian?
Yeah, and I can answer this a couple ways. So the first thing, I wanted to answer John's question, kind of with John Whitaker, kind of with the direct answer, and just tell him what I would do is for 60 or 90 days, transition those 3 people that are in your BDC taking the incoming calls. Let salespeople take the incoming calls and have those 3 people make those outbound calls. The reason that he's upset that there's no outbound activity happening is because he's got too much inbound activity happening. And you heard his numbers; he's selling a decent amount of cars. Right. So he's not. There's too much coming in, and they're not having to make anything outbound because they're getting paid and they're making money and they're selling cars. If they don't have to make outbound phone calls, they're not going to. So, okay. And then to answer your question, just what you just asked me.
Yeah, but monitoring.
So I think it's about 70% of car dealerships today are recording their calls. Less than 10% actually go in and review them. And then less than 5% of those actually have managers that go in and sit down with salespeople and tell them how to get better. So, yeah, exactly. You have to be monitoring those phone calls and making your salespeople better.
We have a caller, I think, in Tommy.
Caller.
Oh,
I know.
It's Matt. Okay.
I know who it is. I was saying caller first.
How'd you know who it was? Hey, so we got. I think Matt Lasco's on. Matt, are you on?
Yeah, guys, how we doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Your brother's been tweeting on as well, and he's been. I think I've seen smoke come off the monitor because I can feel it and feel his tweets. We're talking BDC, we're talking internet. Some of the things that came up, Matt, and earlier, and I asked 2 guys, Josh Mitchell and Jared McCreevy, which by the way are phenomenal car guys, really nice guys. You met Josh, Matt, at I believe at Digital Dealer. He was on one of the panels, but. Both of the guys answered honestly, and I don't think they're closed-minded, but I said, do your salespeople make more money, or does a BDC person at your dealership have the ability to make as much money as a salesperson? And both of them said no. And let me ask you, Matt, is there a need for a shift in regards to that? Should it be viewed differently, possibly, and maybe give us your opinion on that?
Well, in our case, they do have that ability, but not in that chair. Mm-hmm. We still use our BDC ground as a breeding area for the sales reps to continue to grow. So right. We look at it as their performance definitely is got commission and incentive bases that they can get as a BDC rep, but their performance and job knowledge is what allows them then to work their way into the sales floor, whether it's internet sales or lot ups or whatever it may be. That's their door in. So we look at it as, yes, they do have the ability to make as much as a sales rep, because I can look out on the floor and see 6 salespeople that started in the business development department 5 years ago, and now they're 6-figure salespeople. That's why ours is kind of viewed that way. I will tell you, I didn't know who was just on while I was on hold there listening. He hits a perfect point. If your company, we went through this. We used to have every lead source you could think of, every marketing source, just to get the most traffic we could get. And so we had all inbound activity, and our outbound activity was down. The easiest way to get outbound activity is to cut the advertising that you're spending so much money on and get your team to start to work on follow-up and work on mining your database and work on outbound production. Once your outbound production is way up and ramped up and belongs where you want it to be, then you'll start kicking back up the advertising and bringing more inbound calls. But you just can't get people to chase an old up when they've got new ones coming in front of them. And if you don't have some way to control that flow, you'll continue to walk in the morning and see they didn't complete their action plan or outbound calls.
That's good.
Yeah, and one more quick thing, Matt, and we have another caller on the line that we'll go to in just a moment. But Matt, I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of your practices when you bring a brand new employee in and you introduce them into your internet department, like you mentioned, it's kind of a road to sales. One of your strategies is to have that person initially start with sort of the colder leads, if you will. Is that correct?
100%. They won't touch a person that's not at least 90 days old, and that lasts for about 90 days. The beauty of it is we can see the diamond in the rough, because when they start getting appointments kept and appointments sold off of old leads, we know we've got a real talent on our hands, and usually those are the people that we kind of fast track into sales. Another key item is making sure they're prepared. I think the BDC, sure, they don't get opportunity for money, but I also don't think they get trained. A lot of BDC, we train them like it's an operator's job and forget that they're actually a salesperson.
That's good.
So they're not phone trained. They're not sent to training classes. They don't sit in sales meetings. Ours mirror what our salespeople do, because we know they have to understand the full function. So when they are on the phone with the customer, they can give a quality response and really handle the customer's needs.
Matt, man, thank you so much for calling in, and that's awesome. I think we have a couple callers, and here's what I'm going to ask the callers, because we have Josh Mitchell, Jerry McCreevy, we have Frank Lopes, and we have Christian Salazar on as well. And we have two callers on, and they just texted me. I guess Kevin Fry is on the phone. Is that correct? Kevin Fry?
No, you got Kevin Campbell on the phone.
Okay, Kevin Campbell. Kevin Campbell is on the phone. He is the e-commerce director for Sandy Sansing Automotive, and also, I believe, if I'm correct, Bobby Heron is on the phone as well with Zemont and Cardinale Auto Group. Correct, Bobby?
Oh boy,
that is correct.
All right, so I'm going to ask you guys. We'll start with Kevin. I think you called in first. Was Kevin on first? So, Kevin, you have a question or a comment that we can direct to one of the guys on the panel. You've been listening to the show. What's something maybe you want to either affirm or disagree with or challenge, or maybe something that you want to maybe get a little more, maybe somebody to elaborate on that you've heard?
No, just one thing that I thoroughly believe in, especially when you're hiring these green team salespeople who've never ever been in automotive sales before. I think that it's an absolute must to have them spend 2 or 3 weeks in the BDC. I mean, there's so much of the ground floor stuff that you're going to learn by spending that time there. And it's the most important stuff to the job, understand the ins and outs of the BDC, how to handle the ingoing, outgoing phone calls, how to do proper follow-up. Those are all things that I think once you master those things, converting over to being a salesperson is just the natural progression. I mean, and we see that here all the time. One, everybody in the BDC eventually knows. They hear from word of mouth the great money that the salespeople are making, and they know they're doing half of their job. Getting the customer into the store is half the job. And once you master that, the sales part, if you've got personality and can get people to like you, it's just a natural progression. So I'm a huge fan of using the BDC to groom your salespeople, just because it's just such a great avenue. They just learn all the basics.
Is somebody in your internet department, I mean, kind of posing that to you, can they make as much money as anybody else in sales at your store?
No. Okay. No, they can make great money, but they're not going to make the money that the salespeople are making, and that's just how it is.
I'd love to hear if anybody's. I mean, we're obviously we can't go all night, but if anybody, if anybody has that setup, if anybody's modeling that, and this listening that says, hey, you know what, my internet department, we've tried something, we're doing something unique. They have the ability to make as much money, and maybe you've seen that transition. It's just kind of interesting. I'd like to hear.
I think that would be hard. I think that would be hard to find, David, because I mean, why wouldn't you want to sit inside in the air conditioning and make the same amount of money as the guys pounding the asphalt in the 130-degree cars in the middle of the Florida summer? I just,
I don't think
I agree, but my question would be, I mean, here's my question, and I'm not, I'm just not being offensive, but this is my question, straight shooter, Kev. Why would I want to pay somebody more money because they stand outside in the hot? I mean, like I got inside sales guys that are making, I got a couple of top inside sales guys that are making $25,000 a month, $30,000 a month in some cases, but they're working their freaking tail off, whether they're inside or out. So my question is, isn't it about if there were a way that somebody could build a process that would allow somebody to obviously bust their tail, but make that much money or make as much money, what I'm saying, but also be that valuable. I guess it's just another one of those things that I guess would, that you guys are the experts on the blacktop. So, but
yeah, I think you just can't pay that much money to two different sources.
Right. So that's what. And that comes back to the whole reason we need another show too, because is there a need for two? Bobby, is there a need for another layer? Is there a need for two sources? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I would say that one of the biggest differentiators between somebody who's put in a BDC outside of training, because we all know I work with clients across the country on consulting for BDCs, and the number one problem is training. But here's what I would tell you is the real issue, and this is why it would be difficult to apply that, in that we teach people on the sales floor how to accept contact from a customer, meaning that the customer initiated it. In a BDC or in a like-minded environment, we teach them how to initiate the contact. It's the same thing if you think of people who work the service drive. Every dealership or every good dealership puts into place a plan for how to work the service drive, right? We know that people defect from there. We also know they're the most loyal. So we say, go work the service drive. One or two people might do it, maybe one. And a month later, we go, why will nobody work the service drive? Because we never taught them how to initiate contact with somebody unprovoked. It's uncomfortable, and it's a whole different level of communication than waiting for somebody to call you or waiting to walk into the store.
Yeah.
Now, I would also say Jennifer Briggs implemented in McDonald's in Michigan an extremely successful BDC in that every salesperson that walked on that floor after she started there came through her BDC with her training and then got promoted to the sales floor. And they did use that pay plan. They did use a pay plan where the BDC could make more money, and as a result, several people didn't want to leave the BDC. I did the same thing, not exactly the same as her, in Garber, in that you could make more money in the BDC. The problem is that we spent so much time paying people so well on car deals 20 years ago when people had to actually work for the money, that now we look at the pay plans and we go, well, a salesperson has to make 80, 90 grand a year if they're doing a decent job. We can't cut the pay plans. You absolutely can. It's two halves now. Why aren't you selling 20 cars instead of 10 if somebody else is doing half the work? And why isn't that income split between the two and built as a partnership? Right? You compare somebody in a BDC who's effective at initiating contact with a salesperson who's not effective at it but does know the art of the close. It's a really easy way to pair people up. I've got several pay plans that work really good for it. And the training is there, but ultimately we're failing the people that we're putting into these positions because we're not giving them what they need. We're treating them like operators, and they're not.
Well,
That's
it's funny,
not what this is.
Cribbs, and I'll let Cribbs maybe can throw this to somebody, but Matt Lasco, I don't know if he's still on or not, but Matt, and he is right about this, and I think again, though, that's what it comes down to, that terminology thing I was talking about earlier. Like to me, it's like the terminology, because Matt did say the internet sales reps can take a deal from front and back and complete the transaction, and there's a big difference between BDC and internet salesperson. So again, I think that's where Matt's got it figured out, but I don't know if he's still on or not. But I think a lot of dealers.
I got you, David.
You know what I'm saying, Matt? Don't some dealers struggle with that, like an identity there? They don't know.
I think that what people are missing there is that your business development department, and I go back to the Allen Rams and a million other people that agree, there shouldn't be touching your initial lead. Your quality internet sales person or internet sales manager, that's who's touching an initial lead and working a deal, and they can actually work that deal and sell and complete a transaction. BDC is designed for follow-up, database mining, and whatever else leads you need long-term, completed follow-ups. There is a difference there, and I don't want people to get that gray area confused, because heck, an internet salesperson here can make six figures all day long. But they also, I watched one of my top sales girls drive across the state of Michigan the last 2 days and deliver six different cars to houses.
Nice.
Heck, man, she deserves her six figures. She's earning every penny of it. But she's a sales rep, not a BDC rep.
Okay, perfect.
Right, and I think, one of the things that I hear when I listen to Matt talk about the way his store implements the internet, BDC, things like that, is that there's a clarity that you hear in his voice about how it's done. And I think that his employees reap that benefit, that they have clarity in their position and what they're doing. And I think that some dealers are still really trying to figure it out. I want to ask Frank, I know that Frank, that you talk to dealers and owners all of the time. Are they confused? Is there some, coaching that goes on with you and the dealers, with the emphasis from the OEMs to the way internets and BDCs look in different dealerships? What does that look like when you're talking?
I mean, John Whitaker called in. There's an example.
Yeah, there's questions there. Go ahead, Frank.
And it does look different. It looks different from dealer to dealer. There's a tremendous amount of fog when it comes to that type of outlook. Matt, obviously, from his comments and from knowing Matt a little bit, he's got it down, because he's got the process in place. He's got the procedure in place. He has every single different task defined by who's going to do what and how they're going to do it. Most dealers, unfortunately, they don't have that. They really don't, and they're trying to figure it out. But once again, the hesitation on their part causes them to take no action most of the time and leave the broken system in place, because I guess in a way they get kind of complacent with what they are getting, and they don't want to break what they have already. Fear takes over, and then they shut down.
That's good.
Once again, a lot of the guys like Matt, they're few and far between, because there's a huge growing period, and there's a huge amount of pain period that's involved in figuring it all out, putting it all together, building the process, building the procedure, letting it go, having it, hitting the roadblocks that you're going to hit as you start to go through it, and adjusting as you go along for the long term. Most dealers don't want to feel the pain. They really don't.
It's good. Tommy?
Well, we've extended this. I think this is the extendo version of the BDC conversation. I'm sure there's more to be said and more to be had. Now this is going to be the real 2-minute wrap up. There's not a fake one like last time. The real 2-minute wrap up. And actually, I'm gonna let.
We'll also give everybody this. If Bobby and Matt, if they're still on, we'll give them that chance to say something as well.
Everybody, so literally try to keep
Kevin
it.
Still might be on.
Try to keep it to 2 minutes. Josh, we'll start with you again. Maybe you had some additional words to say. So.
Yeah, this is my second wrap up.
Yeah, you're the only person in the history of Auto Dealer Live to get 2 wrap-ups.
Yes.
So you're welcome.
I'll do another one. That's okay. I want to ask the question in this wrap-up, and everybody can think about this, but why is there such a pull to get BDC people to be trained and everything to get out of the BDC and become a salesperson? When did becoming a salesperson become so sexy, and that's the thing that we want to do? I have BDC people that were I have salespeople that came back to my BDC, and so really, I think it's all about the culture that you build in a BDC and how you lead, not manage, lead. We keep talking about management, we're not talking about leadership.
Preach it.
And I think it has to come fully down from the top down on what leadership that you want for your business and how you want your business to go.
Absolutely. That's very well said, by the way, and
Good
I think
double
that's good stuff there, buddy.
Good double wrap up, Josh. All right, let's go to Jared. Jared, it's your turn to wrap it up. Wrap it up.
All right, so first I want to let everybody know that there is no golden rule to anything in this business. There's no one way that it has to be done to be the most successful, because as we all know, every store is different. Every store has different expectations. Everybody wants to sell more cars and make more gross, but how they want it to get done is different. So you have to do what works within your store, within the culture that is built from the head down, right? So your ownership, your GM, your GSM, all the way down. And like we were talking about earlier, having salespeople that can handle the internet leads and so forth. We have a finance department because we want finance that specializes in finance, F&I, right? We have salespeople that specialize in sales. We have BDC that specialize in BDC. It's few and far between that you're going to find somebody that's talented enough or ambitious enough that can cross-train multiple departments and be good or great at all of them. So like Josh was saying, let your BDC people be your BDC, your sales be your sales, and train them and lead them the right way.
Touche.
Well said, Jared.
Good.
Thanks.
All right, very good. All
Let's
right.
go to Christian Salazar. Christian, we're going to give you your closing comments, and at the end, since you are a vendor, we'll give you a chance to tell dealers how they can reach you as well.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with what Matt Lasko was saying. I like the fact of your initial touches not being handled by the BDC. I do see, just like what Jared just said, there's not a golden rule that you can go by. What I would like to say and what I'd like to leave you with is open up the phone calls to your sales floor. If you're listening right now and your BDC is taking those initial phone calls, open up the phone lines to your sales floor. Don't just turn them on one day. Give those salespeople some training, hand them a script, and make sure you got a manager that's going to hold them to it as well. So that's what I would like to say. And you can get a hold of me. My cell phone, 913-948-1172. If you Google my name, that's probably the easiest. You'll find a doctor in Columbia and myself. So,
All right.
there you have it.
Josh, I know you already have a wrap up, but you're shaking your head. I mean, is there anything you want to throw in there real quick? You're saying, because I can't. I'm too tempted. What do you want to say? Anything?
I think they're getting me in trouble now.
No, I'm just saying.
I disagree. I disagree with your salespeople handling your phone calls. I just think that they've done it wrong for so long, And that's the reason why we created business development centers. Is because
Josh,
they did
why
it
wouldn't
so-
you? Josh, why wouldn't you go hold a class twice a month on how to answer the phones?
Well, pay me $10,000 a month and I'll do it.
Surely it's not money.
Hey,
Okay.
Bobby, are you still on?
No, she dropped.
Bobby dropped.
She just
Okay.
texted and said her call dropped out. So,
All right.
thank you, Christian. Did you give your contact info?
You said Google him. There's a,
Okay, Google him. Okay,
Google him.
okay, that's
Yep.
right. Yeah,
There's
yes.
a Colombian doctor in him.
Okay.
Under
All right.
Chris's
Thank
house,
you. Thank you for coming on. And Josh, thank you. That was the third. We might get another wrap up in here. Who knows?
Josh, why don't you wrap up again?
Matt,
I
last-
don't think you got. I see your face. Your face looks like you need to say something. What do
So,
you think about that, Sasquatch? I agree. It's only 5 o'clock. What the heck are we
By the way,
doing?
CJ Romick tweeted out, said the guy that I sold at the beginning of the show just came in for his first oil change. That's pretty funny. CJ got jokes.
That's awesome.
Hey, so Frank, you haven't had a closing remarks yet, but I'm gonna go to Matt Lasco first if he's still on because he did call in as a special caller. So Matt, you still there? All right. So Matt's not there. How about Kevin? Are you still on?
KC.
Matt, you're not on, right?
Nah, these
Okay.
These
So
jerks couldn't hang out with us.
no, man. Hey, I appreciate him calling in. Frank Lopes,
Yeah.
go ahead, man.
So I'm going to keep it simple and quick because we are really over on time. If you have a BDC, dealers, general managers, if you've got a BDC where they're taking all of your incoming sales calls, they're handling all of your internet leads, you got to look at those guys like they are the front line. They are your offensive line on your team. And if that line breaks down, your quarterback is going to get sacked. Your running back is going to get stopped behind the line of scrimmage every single
Football
play.
season's back in, Frank. Huh?
Football season's back, man. So let's use the football
Well,
now,
baby.
Why not? So make it so that those guys that are on your front line have the same opportunity to make money, just like the guy who's going to run the ball. Because if those guys in the front line, if your center, if he fumbles the ball, guess what? Play's over. If you're front, if you're
Unless he picks it up. Unless he picks it up and runs it back for a touchdown. You know, I mean, that play not be. You know.
Yeah, but you guys get what I'm saying. If
No,
that
we
line
get it,
breaks down, the whole offense breaks down, and everything's over. You know.
Good point.
How
How does somebody reach you, sir? Oh, are you still talking? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. I thought you were. No, that wasn't funny. That wasn't even supposed to be funny. Ezra, maybe. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Frank. I interrupted you. My apologies.
That's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Anybody that wants to find me anywhere on social media, Frank J. Lopes, or hashtag Get More Frank, or Google Frank J. Lopes, you find me right away.
Awesome. And hey, by the way, next month, Frank is in September. He will be starting a monthly segment with us called what, Frank?
It's called Get More Frank.
Get More Frank. That's what. Wouldn't that? Never mind. I was going to say something probably inappropriate. So Get More Frank, starting in September, coming to Auto Dealer Live as well, and it's going to be a monthly segment that Frank's going to be. He's going to be bringing more Frank to you.
Yeah. I'll be Frank with you. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll be Frank too.
I'm going to stay Tommy.
So guys, thank you so much. And here's the thing I'll do. How about this? The first day we haven't nailed down the actual date, but the first day that we actually are going to be launching the Get More Frank. It'll be sometime in September in the show. If we move something around, would you guys like to come back on? And in the meantime, we'll field some questions and put them out on some polls. We're not literal polls, put some polls out there, and then we'll get we'll bring some maybe a little bit of a twist to the conversation. You guys in on that?
I'm definitely down for that.
Awesome, man. I think we kept a good audience and great topic.
As a matter of fact, we just saw Auto Dealer Live is trending on Twitter, and thanks to all of our sponsors today, as we're trending on Twitter. And as we close out, Dave, kind of on a different note, the auto world lost one of the greats this past week. So Tammy LeBleu, and we just want to offer her family our condolences and also our prayers. Please do the same.
Absolutely. And if you are listening and you're not familiar with who Tammy LeBleu is, we'll make sure that we put it on Facebook and Twitter. But also for her, you can Google her and her story or testimony. It's very inspirational. She was only 50 years old. Actually, would have turned 50 years old. I think a few days ago, And it's just a great like testimony, personal testimony of what she's gone through. And when she was at Orr Nissan, which was just a couple of years ago, she was the number 2, right?
Yeah, she made it to number 2
in the
Nissan sales consultant in the
world.
Yeah,
right?
the U.S.
In the U.S.
Yeah,
okay, so number 2 sales consultant for Nissan. That's strong.
Oh, it's huge.
And that's not that's strong.
Yeah, it wasn't number 2 at the dealership, and it wasn't number 2 in the region. It was number 2 for Nissan.
And she was phenomenal. But so we're definitely going to miss her, and she was an incredible person. So
definitely better.
Anything else to say? Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us, the 4 of you guys, and we look forward to seeing you guys back on next week. And I loved it, man.
Great show, man.
Great show. Now we only have a half a show next week because we'll just go ahead.
Right.
Hey,
quarter.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Right? What a good show, Tommy. Huh? Are you hungry?
Ah, God, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. Just so you know, this big guy right here is on like a diet thing. Look how much weight this guy's lost. You have lost in the last 3 months. How much weight?
I'm now 45 pounds.
45 pounds, nice. And there's a reason when you don't eat, and he is on a very small. How many calories a day are you doing right now? 500.
500 calories.
500 calories a day. It's actually the special deal he's doing, and so therefore he is he's running on. I don't even know what he's running on, but
not much.
All right, we've kept this audience long enough. Cribbs, give us your closing 20 seconds of like the best. Give us. Give us 20 seconds.
Why are we
of
stretching this out?
Well, no. Give us 20 seconds of greatness, Cribbs. Go. Hey, man. Hey, this is Cribbs. 20 seconds of greatness. Cribbs, go.
20 seconds of greatness. We're going to go back to what we opened with, which is, hey, we got a few days left in this month. Whether you're in the BDC, whether you're on sales, whether you're at the desk.
Yeah.
Let's pull it together. Let's create some synergy and make it happen because we only got a few days.
Yeah.
And let's make it a memorable month.
Give us 20 seconds of greatness, Tommy. Go. 20 seconds.
Stop being stupid, y'all idiots. Y'all being too stupid out there. You're not doing the right thing. You need to stop doing the wrong thing and do the right thing, and then you'll make some money. How about that?
Come on.
I'm
all right.
inspired.
Hey, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Close strong.
God bless you. Good night.
We'll see you next Thursday. Thank you for hanging with us.
Thank you.